So what is up, everybody? Bobby here, obviously, the Nintendo Guru. And on today's Nintendo Talk, we have a special episode. Kevin Austin of PSVG joins me to discuss his top 5 Nintendo games of all time. We did the episode like a normal episode, and after about 30, 40 minutes in, I realized I wasn't recording the episode, and it was a big flub on my part. So where this picks up, it's basically us restarting from scratch, minus his Geek Out. We had his Geek Out that was pretty cool. It was a pretty good time for that. And we had a long discussion of his number one game. So it feels, I think, like at the beginning of this, we kind of jumped through his number one game pretty quickly, sadly. And I'm sorry about that. So that's all I got for now. And I hope you enjoy the episode as it is. Thank you for listening as always. I love you all. For now, peace out, Preston. Not really. On to the show, I think, is the best way to say this. Here we go. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Nintendo Talk. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, the dumbest son of a bitch in all the land, joined by Mr. PSVG himself, Kevin Austin. What is up, sir?
Dude, I feel like I was just here. This is so weird.
Yeah, no crap. Okay, so I'm just going to, full disclosure. We totally recorded for probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know how long, 22 minutes, something like that. And I forgot to hit the record button. And here we are back again. So you're going to miss the Geek Outs. It's an amazing steakhouse that he went to. Or what barbecue house he went to in Massachusetts. Whatever. I was geeking out about DC Universe Online. You're never going to hear that stuff. Doesn't matter.
Forget it.
So the whole point of tonight's episode is top fives. Or not even top fives. It's we take special things each month. We talk about them. We discuss them. We just spent 15 minutes talking about Kevin's first game, because this is what we're doing this month. Is we're taking people's top 5 games, top 5 Nintendo games of all time. Kevin, let's try. I wonder what game it is, Kevin.
Well, my number 5, let's just hop right into the Temple of Time and go right back to talking about this one, is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So, was it 1998, I think we said earlier? So that game came out for the N64. Yeah. And for me, I had a tough time between this and Link to the Past as one of my favorite Zelda games. And I think ultimately I sided with this one because of the great narrative that it had, the massive world that we hadn't experienced up until that point. Yes. One of the things we mentioned before, too, was that in my head, as a kid growing up playing all the other Zelda games, I'm like, I would imagine it looking like this. Yeah. So it's like when people go back and revisit Final Fantasy VII, and like, oh man, this looks rough. But in your head, you were like, this was amazing. And, this was a similar type of game. We talked about the introduction kind of really of Ganondorf as a character, where he kind of got his main spotlight as to his driving motivations, what he really is other than the pig guy from the first one. Yes. But yeah, it was just the great things that just burned in my memory during that time. I was junior in high school or senior in high school during that period, so I had a lot of free time, so I could play these big games and not have to worry about hopping in for a half hour, having to sign off because you get lost in it that way.
Well, it's funny because the first time we discussed, and I had said like I was in a different place, was the reason why it's not my favorite or in my top 5.
Sure.
Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game, but when I think about it, I think part of the problem is that game doesn't hold up. And
no,
like
it does not.
You just said, like Final Fantasy, like these games, Final Fantasy VII, these games, like Link to the Past holds up because pixel art is just
timeless.
It's timeless, dude. It it actually looks better as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Where polygons are trash. You know what I
mean?
Like,
yes.
The textures just start to look really bad because the textures they're using now look so good that when you go back, it's like, oh, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I think truly that's part of the issue of why that game, because a game like Link to the Past, I played it last year. You know what I mean? Like, right. I played it probably 3 years ago, and then probably a couple years before that, and so I've always gone back to it, and always gone back and played it, and it's always stayed fresh in my heart. Where a game like Ocarina, number one, they've never pushed it back out as many times. You know, like you might occasionally get it back rehashed up and brought back out. When the 3DS came out, they did the remaster.
Yep.
It really wasn't that great. You know,
no.
It was, like you said, it's better than the N64 version.
But it's not great.
Yeah. So I think that's part of the problem for me. It's a multitude of things. But I feel like that's one. And like I said, like the moment for me, and I feel like everybody that plays that game, the moment that hits for them the hardest, that they remember for all the time, is Hyrule Field coming out the first time on Epona, riding across the field, and you're just like
that music, the theme kicks in.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're like, I'm free. I can go anywhere. You can't really, but you think you can. And it's
yes,
like, I can go anywhere, because at that point, that's one of the first games that you really had that feel of like this open air, open world type thing where you could just go anywhere and do anything, and it was the start of something special for Nintendo. You know, we had Mario 64 prior to that.
Yep.
And that started the trend.
Yes.
And it was like what they learned from Mario, they implemented in this, and they just made it better. They didn't put a jump button, but Link still jumped, but they didn't put the jump button. They were like, hey, just the camera was way better than 64.
Way better. Yes. So much better.
It was like Miyamoto took everything he learned with Mario 64 and they just flipped it on its ear and was like, hey, we're going to change this, and this, and we're going to make it better. And it worked out, man. It was just perfect. So I can appreciate where it's coming from for you. For me, like I said, I was in a different place. Engaged, didn't have the time to put in to play it. Really in a bad relationship. Trying to find time to play it. Play it once, can't play it for another 2 weeks, come back, can't remember where I am, can't remember what I'm doing. It's all frustrating. So then I was just like, I'm done. I'm out. Yeah. And then by the time I did get to play it and beat it, I rushed through it. Because I felt that calling, like, I got to beat this Zelda.
You just had to beat it. Yeah, you have to say you beat it.
I can't just let it lay there and not beat it. So it is what it is. But, so go ahead. What is number 2 for you, sir?
All right, so my top fourth one here, this is where my list gets weird, and I think a lot of your listeners are going to go, huh? and maybe you'll agree with some of these, maybe you won't. Okay. Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door is my number 4.
Now, here's the thing. I have never played this game.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to let you talk about it, and I'll explain my whole philosophy behind all stuff, but I've always heard great things about it, and I wish I could go back and get it and play it and all that stuff. But go ahead. Why is this game so special to you?
So for me, this is hands down. I've played all the Paper Mario, all of the Mario and Luigi games that are similar in nature to what Paper Mario does. This one has the best writing, the best story, the best characters in it, and just taking what we've known as Mario for all those decades before this game came out and kind of just change it. So yes, I know there was Paper Mario before that. That one was garbage. This is the one that matters, and this is the one that's really, really good. It was just the story, being able to play that turn-based combat role-playing game. It gave you what was great about Super Mario RPG for a lot of people, but in my mind, took it way, way better. Yeah. The graphics were much better. The combat was more fine-tuned. You had that Nintendo touch to it. Because we got to remember, Super Mario RPG wasn't done by Nintendo. No. Like, Square did that using some of those licenses. It didn't have that same feel that you're like, okay, Mario wouldn't say this. Mario wouldn't do that. But in this game, it was what was great about that, but given that Nintendo touch, that Nintendo flair, that makes it really good. The humor was great in it, which I appreciate in a lot of games, and that's going to be a theme in my list. I think you'll see later on as well, was the writing I can really appreciate in the game. And this is one you can go back to. The graphics 100% hold up, and this style of art works fine. And it's just the one thing that pains me a little bit is that none of the games following in the Paper Mario series has been able to recapture, I think, what was great about it. They kept trying to add, okay, let's add this one more thing, like let's put Sticker Star in, or let's allow you to flip the screens, like they ended up putting in Yoshi, which works in Yoshi, but for Paper Mario it was just annoying. And they just kind of always tried to cram these gimmicks into the series after this that I think took away from what made the other one just great, which was just a great story, simple mechanics, great characters, and just a lot of fun to play. But yeah, I mean, that's why it's on my list. And I know, like, it got really good review scores, and I think a lot of people that played it liked it, but I think a lot of people also forget this game because of all the ones that came on after weren't anywhere near as good.
That's the thing. This game was, it just lost. It was you know, it was on the GameCube. GameCube really didn't sell that well.
Oh no.
Probably it sold better, I think, than the N64, but it was still bad.
Compared to the others, the competition at the time.
Yeah, definitely compared to the competition. It was the more powerful of the competition, but it just didn't do well. So that being said, now for me personally, the GameCube era was when it was just before I met my now ex-wife, but it was just before I met her, and I was like, okay, it's time to grow up. It's time to stop playing these kiddie video games and start to be an adult and work a job and buy a house and do all these things. And so I actually gave up gaming for probably a year or two. And the other thing too was like the Wii was coming out, and I had no interest in that. I was like, I don't want to do this nonsense. I just want to play a game with a controller. That's it. The PS3 was out at the time. $600. I'm like, I'm not buying that thing. You're crazy. The Xbox, I just was never an Xbox guy, and I was just like, I don't want anything to do with that. So for me, it was just like, I'm done. I'm gonna grow up and be an adult now, and it is what it is. And then that's when I got with her, and she kind of talked me back into it because she's like, I don't understand why you give it. Like, if you love it, play it. Like, do your thing. I'm not gonna judge you. Like, I love video games too, and she played and I played. But the thing is. So I regret not getting that one, but I was already beyond the GameCube at that point when I came back, and that's the best one. Like, you talk to people, and it's like they had like real RPG mechanics to it. It was like a serious RPG. Then they just got goofy and strange with the series, and the one on the Wii wasn't that bad.
No,
it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
and then it just got the Wii U was terrible. The ones on the 3DS. Terrible, and it was just like they got really dumb. Like Sticker Star was stupid. Color Splash was horrible. The worst mechanic in the world in my mind was the cards.
The card combat was tough. If they took that out, it would have been fine.
Yes.
But it's like they try to shoehorn them in.
It wasn't even that. If they could have kept the card combat in, if they would have made it like, hey, when you acquire a card, you keep that card. The fact that you're actually going through and you're trying to hold on to certain cards and trying to figure out, like, okay, if I use this card against this guy and this one again, it was such a mess. Yeah. I would love for them to go back and maybe remaster this game, Thousand Year Door, for the Switch.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or just create your virtual console once and for all and throw it on there. That's another time for another show. But yeah, that to me would be ultimately, and it's one of the games that I do regret ultimately. So what is your number 3, sir?
So number 3 is also a 3 in its title.
Oh boy.
Pikmin 3.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my lord. Okay.
So yeah, I've been a huge Pikmin fan.
Okay.
Played them all, and this was actually a series that my wife and I would play.
Yes.
And 1 and 2, she was leaps and bounds better than I was at the game, like by far.
1 and 2 were tough, man.
Oh, they were hard. They were so hard. Yeah. But she played them. She beat them both. I beat them both too, but she did it much easier, and I'd have to watch her in some instances. Like, all right, wait, what did you do here? How'd you beat this one? Like, stuff like that. Yeah. But 3 came along, and this is one, like, I'm still clamoring for 4. And to be honest, so traded in my Wii U to help fund my Switch. So had the conversation with the wife, and this was at the time, Miyamoto said Pikmin 4 was already pretty much done. That was what, 8 years ago at this point. We still haven't. So my wife does not let me live it down to this day, Bobby. If she hears anything about Pikmin, the fact that we traded in, she can no longer play it because she is pissed at me about this one. But this game was great. The multiplayer stuff was phenomenal. The bingo battles, the DLC stuff they added to this game. This was like one of the first ones they really did DLC for too. They were kind of dipping the toe, testing the waters here for Nintendo. But the game was just so fun. They took all of the best parts of Pikmin 1 and 2 and transitioned it to 3, made it more user-friendly to play through, so that it would still give you a challenge, but it wasn't so hard that you get frustrated and give up on the game. Like you could tough your way through it if you just stuck to it and understood the mechanics. But it was a beautiful game. The music is so subtle but memorable. And I mean, it's just one of the best looking games Nintendo's ever done. That a lot of people just look right by it.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like with 3, so for those that don't understand the difference, 1 and 2, you basically have your days. You have to, you start your day. You go out. You have a task to complete. You have to go find parts of your ship and bring them back and rebuild the ship so that way you can get off the planet you're on. And so you go out. You do your thing, you come back. If you miss the part, there is no going back.
Nope.
Like, and the thing is like, you can't go back and get a part from the different day. Like, it's each day is the part that you're supposed to get, and that's it. So
you have those 30 days, and that's it. Once it's up, it's up. You're trying to lift off, and your ending would determine whether or not you died or made it home.
Yes. So, and the idea is you have to go every day, go out, find your part, bring it back, and that's it. So that's how 1 was. That's how 2 was. 3 did something different. 3, you had your parts, but everything was based upon the fruit and the food. So basically, you would go out, you would collect fruit, bring it back. They would turn it into juice, and you would consume 1 juice per day. And the idea was, when you start the game, go out and get as much fruit as you can.
Yep.
And then bring it back home, and then that'll give you time to actually go out and explore and open the world up and do what you have to do. So it's a nice mechanic. It does throw you into panic mode in the middle of it when you lose the fruit. But it's such a good game because it does let you play at your own pace. It doesn't rush you, and I feel like that's the problem with 1 and 2. 1 and 2 rushes you, and you don't really truly get to just explore the world and get into the world. Like, this game lets you explore the world and, like, just take your time and break apart things and open things up and figure stuff out. And it's, like, so amazing how well done this game is. I loved Pikmin 3.
Yep.
Like, to me, it was one of those hidden gems on the Wii U.
Absolutely.
It was one of those things that made me go, like, these are the reasons why you need to own a Wii U. Pikmin 3 is definitely up there. You know what I mean? Like, I always feel like the Wii U, it was one of those consoles that just had fantastic games on it that are just lost.
Yep.
And I would love if Nintendo would do two things. I would love if they would bring a collection to the Switch, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And I would love if they would actually find a way to let you play with the nunchuck and Wiimote. Because I feel, obviously if you could play with the Joy-Con, if they let you play the Joy-Cons that way, that's fine. But to me, the nunchuck and the Wiimote was probably one of the best ways to play.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because you could point and throw and then move, and it was so good.
So fluid,
that combination. Although the gamepad was pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
You know, where you just pointed and you clicked and you just went. So.
Yeah.
So, what is your number 2 game, sir?
All right, this one is no surprise. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Animal Crossing.
Really?
Now,
really? Okay.
I was back and forth between, though, giving New Leaf the nod or staying with the original. And I think for a couple reasons, and you may not agree here, I'm sticking with the original.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord.
And I think it's because, so Animal Crossing, this was another game I was able to play with my wife.
Yeah.
And actually, my oldest daughter started getting into video games during this era a little bit. So we had a time together. We could do things together. We celebrated the holidays together, all the special events you'd have, stuff like that. And it was just such a chill game that you could just hop in 5 or 10 minutes a day, get done what you need to get done, and you were fine. Or if you wanted to fish for 2 hours, go ahead.
Yeah.
Earn some money. I love the things New Leaf added to the series by far.
Yeah.
But I also felt at some points it felt to be too much. Like, I want to build my house. I don't want to worry about being mayor to build this other thing that I want too, like the coffee house or this bridge, and saving all the money to do so. So I think those types of things kind of made me juggle it back and forth a little bit. I thought just the simplicity of the original Animal Crossing, the NES mini games that were hidden inside of them in the original one there, so good. Linking it up with the Game Boy Advance to travel to Tortimer's Island was funny. Man. So like all these little things that it did that, you know, those are all replicated and carried on throughout the series except for the emulation part. Yeah. But I thought just the simplicity of its nature made it so much fun, so memorable. A game you could always go back to simply because different time of year, different holiday, something different was always happening. Yeah. It was never just hopping in and getting the same exact game.
Yes.
For me. So I think that's why I gave it the nod. Just New Leaf is great, and I played hundreds of hours of that too, probably more than the original one, but in my head I sit there and say, okay, well, this foundation is what made New Leaf so great, and I would just pick a couple things off of New Leaf and it would be perfect game for me. But
it's I can't argue. Whatever Animal Crossing game you play in my mind is the best. Although City Folk and Wild World aren't the best of the best.
Wild World.
But for me, ultimately, like if you're just playing Animal Crossing, I'm not gonna begrudge you of it, because to me, these games are all special to me in their own mind, or in my mind, each one has a special place in my heart.
Absolutely.
And like I can. Dude, the original GameCube, I did not want to play that game at all. My buddy kept trying to tell me to play it. I'm like, you're crazy. There's no way. This game is trash. I don't want to sit here with a bunch of animals and talk to them. Like, no, man. Like, no. And then when he brought up the idea that you could play NES games, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, right?
Let's go.
That's how it gets you.
Yeah, and so he tells me, he gets me to buy the game. I buy the game. He's like, next time you come in, I'll give you my town. I'll explain how you can get to my town.
Yeah.
I have all the NES games. But for now, just go try to find them. I didn't know that it's not as easy as just going and trying to find them.
Yeah.
So I'm like going back to, because he worked at Sam Goody and I live next to the mall. Like literally next door to the mall. So every night I get off work and I go back home and I'd be like, or I go back to the mall and I'd be like, yo man, I can't figure it. He's like, you got to do this, this, and this. So I was like, where's your town? He's like, I forgot it today or whatever. And he did this for about a week and a half. And then finally he gave me the town, right? And at that point, I played the NES games for about 15 minutes. And I was like, no, I want to go back and play the game. It got its hooks in me so deep that it was like, how did this happen?
Yep.
And you know, for me, New Leaf was the creme de la creme. Like, to me, that was the best of them all. It holds a very special place in my heart. It really does. I love the things that they accomplished and did with New Leaf. And I got to tell you, this is probably, with New Horizons coming, this is probably the first time I'm actually nervous playing an Animal Crossing game. Going in. Because I don't know what to expect.
Me too. I'm afraid it's going to be too much a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I'm a little worried about how, like, you have complete freedom. And I'm like, I don't know if I want complete freedom. But
Yeah. But I love the idea of this is going to let me just do what I want to do.
Yep.
Like, I can go build, I can go fish, I can go, whatever I want to do, I go do. And if I want to build that building, I build that building. If I want to build, like, I want to put a path here, I put a path here. That
part's awesome.
Yeah,
sure.
I love the stuff that they added, that we see that they've added. They've kind of gone radio silent on us again. But regardless, what I saw at E3, I got super hyped for. It made me fall in love with the franchise all over again. I can't wait to get back in and play this game because I adore the franchise, the series, and all that stuff. So, you know.
What you could do in the meantime while you're waiting for it, though, is pop in Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival and just spend some time there. You'll grow to appreciate what the New Horizons will bring to you.
Complete in box.
I got one too, not in box, but yeah, I got it too.
Come on, dude. You have to, as an Animal Crossing fan, you got to get it.
Plus, honestly, there's a couple fun things in there.
Yes.
Overall, it's flawed, but there are some good pieces in there that I'm like, man, I wish they'd do this better.
Dude,
like
Deserted Island is fantastic.
Yes, so much fun.
And they put that in New Leaf.
Yes.
When the update came out, they put it in New Leaf. But that Deserted Island game is so
much
fun, dude.
Yes.
Like, you don't realize that, like, it's amazing. You take the Amiibo cards, you take the... Oh, it's so good. So good.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm curious. What could your number one game of all time be for you?
So I'm going to preface it first by putting out the disclaimer here. I'm not one of the hipsters who's like, oh, this game is great, man. I remember playing this game. No. This game I'm about to talk about, Kevin got day one. And this game came out on the SNES. And Kevin knew about it early on because Kevin was a faithful subscriber to Nintendo Power Magazine. And they kept putting ads in this thing. And they were doing all sorts of things. So I was watching this game as early as possible till the second it hit the shelf. And I went to Toys R Us. And yep, Toys R Us, folks, all you little kids listening. And I got my piece of paper and I had to go to the man in the cage to hand it to me. And Bobby handed me a box that was giant. And that was Earthbound.
Oh my God. I fell in love. Oh, sweet Jesus.
This game, I talk about PSVG all the time and everyone rolls their eyes because people don't appreciate this game. Earthbound for me is the best Nintendo game ever made. Writing phenomenal. Funny as all get out. Great mechanics. An RPG that still to this day is different than others. And you see so many games now try and claim, oh, it's inspired by Earthbound. It's Earthbound-esque. Don't give me that Undertale crap. That's not, they say it's inspired by Earthbound. The only thing it's got in common is they both have really good music. Other than that, I don't see it. Yeah. What was that? Citizens of Earth was another one they tried to say. It was like, it's like Earthbound. No, it's not. I played that. Yeah. Like, I fall into the sucker where every time they say, oh, this is like Earthbound, I'll try it, and I'm like, this is not like Earthbound. Yeah. But this game, Bobby, this was the game with the, came with the player's guide. That's why the box was gigantic, because instead of just giving you the player's guide, they put it in the box. Yeah. To scratch and sniff cards, because you had to see what Master Belch smelled like. All these things here, like, this game was just the best, and that's why it still irritates me. I want that Mother 3. I want that game I never got to play, and I've been such an Earthbound faithful that I have not played the ROM. Yeah. So I know it's available, and I can play it right now on my computer. Yeah. I have not done it in hopes that I can get to play it on a console, a Nintendo console, as it was meant to be. Yeah, I'm with you. But I was this close 2 months ago to doing it, though, because I was so frustrated that it wasn't happening. But yeah, this game was the epitome of my childhood. I absolutely love this game. I convinced so many other people to play it, and then, like, a lot of people just didn't find it. And I mean, and this game, in cartridge goes for a lot of money. I've owned 3 different copies throughout my life, sold them all for over $200 every time because it was just the right timing. But people just didn't know of this game during that time. It wasn't a big success when it sold there, but it was so good. And I convinced a couple of people to play it, and they're like, "You're right." During that era, they would say, "You're right. This game is great." You tell people now to go back and play it. People like Donnie rolls his eyes. I don't want to play this game. Blah blah blah. This is lame. I don't want to read. I think Donnie can't read, to be honest. He needs. There's no voiceover acting, so I think there's issues there. But Earthbound is the epitome of it's my favorite game. Yeah. It made me excited when we saw Ness show up in Smash, and nobody knew who Ness was, and I was just like, dude, that's the guy from Earthbound. I'm like, what? I'm like, you don't know this game, Yeah. So it's weird that he's still carried on throughout the Smash Brothers legacy, but there's and Isaac's in there, but you can't play him in anything. It's just weird. But I want to play it, Bobby. I want 3.
So for me, I'm sitting here and I look up above me, right? And I have complete inbox, the Famicom, Mother 2, and Mother 3. Both over my head. Complete inbox. I just need one to get the trilogy. I have also an amiibo of Lucas, inbox, Japanese writing, done.
Oh, snap.
And Ness, Japanese writing, still inbox. I don't mess with them. Custom amiibo that I got from Boulevard Nights of Pooh and Paula
Jeff.
And Jeff. The 3 of them look fantastic. All 3 of them. So, and they're actually on these discs that he made that are of the Earthbound, the Red Earth logo and stuff. It is so gorgeous. So anyway, so the thing for me is, I'm I bought it when it originally came out on the Super Nintendo, but it came out so late on the Super Nintendo.
It totally did. Yep.
It was like one of the final games to hit, and I was on to the N64. And for me, I played it for a little bit, didn't get it, was just like, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then never touched it again. Never touched it again in all that time from the Super Nintendo until they put it on the Wii U. Oh. And when they put it on the Wii U, I bought it day one, and I started playing. And I fell in love with this game. The music is fantastic. Yep. The story is phenomenal. And I'll tell you what, there's a moment in the game at the end when you're getting ready to go do the boss, and you're getting ready to go do your final thing, and you have to make a decision, and that decision is life or death, basically. Mm-hmm. Dude, it brings a tear to your eye. Mm-hmm. When that all unwrap, and you're just like,
oh yeah,
what? Like
so deep, so deep for a 16-bit game.
Yeah, and it's like, holy no, like what? And man, so good. When I beat that game, I literally was just like losing my mind, and I was 41, 42, something like that. Like when I beat it, and I was just like, because it took me back to when I was a kid.
Yep.
And it was this lost game that I let slip through my fingers and didn't complete. And I really fell in love with it. I bought it, like I said, I bought it on the Wii U, bought it again on the Game or on the 3DS.
3DS.
I bought it again. Yep. I love it, man. I'm with you, man. I would love for this game, Mother 3, to come to Switch or come to anywhere, man. Just
anything. I'll break out my 3DS again if you put it there. I don't care.
I care less. Just let me play it. I don't understand why we are not allowed to play it.
Yep.
It just makes no sense. Now, I did it one time. I bought the fan translation of the game.
Yes. Yep.
For the Game Boy Advance. And I started to play it, and I stopped because the screen was like this big.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Little. And I'm like, that's not the way I want to play it.
No.
I want to play it on even like a 3DS or something bigger. Yep. I just bring it out, please. And then nonsense that they said that like they weren't sure if there's moments in it that they're not sure if the American audience can handle it, and just stop. Just bring it out. If you have to put a mature rating on it, just put a mature rating on it.
Who cares? But let the people play that want to play it.
Let us play, man. It's so stupid. It makes me wish that like I knew how to read Japanese, because I would literally just open that pack up and start playing right now.
Yep.
And the funny thing is like I felt so guilty for buying the fan translation of the game, right? And I paid like $40-$50 for that thing.
Oh, sure.
Right? And I felt so guilty that we had 2 Wii U's in the house. I went upstairs and bought Earthbound on the Wii U again for a second time so I could feel like I was giving Nintendo my money.
I'm sorry, Mr. Iwata. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But I love that game. And the funny thing is like I would love a Mother 4 or Earthbound 4 or whatever it is, but Itoy is like, he's just like, hey man, all the best. He gave this analogy one time where he was talking about music, and he said I'm a huge Beatles fan, and he said
clearly from that game,
and he's like all the best after the third album, they just got bad, and he's like he said don't get me wrong, there was good songs, good music within the albums, but they weren't great albums. The first 3 albums were complete, perfect albums and done. And he's like, and I always thought about that, about when I do these games after 3, that's it. So, and for those that don't know the story of Iwata and Itoy, like, man, do yourself a favor, go back, read the stories, how them two got connected and what Iwata did for them or for that game, just reprogramming the whole game, like all that stuff is just fantastic. It's just a fantastic story and fantastic in terms of like what Iwata is. I gotta ask though, how do you have no Mario games on your list?
Super Mario RPG, the Mario Paper Mario. I had Mario on there.
Now, come
I know,
on, man.
I know.
Come on.
So, and I knew I was gonna get crap for this one, but yeah, it's basically because I remember like there's great moments, and I thought about I had the Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World on there. I was bouncing back and forth between that, and I have great memories with those. But ultimately, I think over time, like I just let those games go.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people go back and revisit Super Mario World, and it's a great game, but I don't. I've gone back and started playing it again a couple times. And I'm like, meh, whatever. Super Mario 3, I'll go back and revisit, but it's like I can beat it now at this point. It's pretty quick in my head. Like I can just kind of blow right through this game. And I had those moments as a kid, like, watching The Wizard come out in theaters, and you're like, oh my God, this is the first time seeing Super Mario Brothers 3, and stuff like that. So I have memories with those games, but ultimately, like, those aren't ones I ever really go back to. Yeah. And like, if I sit there and say, like, what's the most fun I've had playing a game, for some reason they never pop in my head. Like, I don't know why. Like, they don't stick with me. I'll play them. I'll have a great time with all of them. I've played them all. Yeah. But they don't last. I can beat them, put them down, and just be fine. Yeah. Move on to the next one. I beat Mario. Was it Mario Odyssey in a weekend?
Yeah.
I was on a cruise, and I beat the whole thing in a weekend. And they're like, all the DLC was kind of like, oh, hey, we're adding all this DLC. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. Like, it's not really DLC. I don't want a boss rush mode. I'm good. Yeah. Like, and I played through. It was fine. But, I had my fun and didn't regret playing it, didn't regret buying it. But ultimately, I'm like, I'm just done, moved on. So, yeah.
Interesting. Toby and I talked about it today on our episode we did today. We talked about Odyssey, and it was just like, we didn't feel like, looking back now, we felt like it was just overhyped. I think people didn't like 3D World at all for whatever reason.
I didn't, for one. I'm one of the people that didn't like it.
I love 3D World. I thought 3D World was great, but I understand why people didn't and whatever, because they were expecting Galaxy 3, and they didn't get that. And I think this is closer to Galaxy than whatever. So I think I see why people were hyped about it, but I really personally don't get the hype. I think it was overhyped. So that is all. Kevin, man, thank you for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
I apologize.
Again, twice tonight.
I apologize for the flub at the beginning, man. Oh my God, I feel so stupid. Kevin, let everybody know where they can find you at, what you do, all that good stuff.
So as Bobby quite kindly said at the top of this, I am the face, the voice, the spirit of the PSVG Podcast Network. You can find us over at psvg.blog. You can find out all the numerous, some may say too many shows we put out there. And you can find all the links to the Discord, all that fun stuff. Just psvg.blog. Come check it out. If you want to hear me specifically, if you like what I did tonight, I am the host of the PSVG Prime Show.
Nice. Beautiful. Myself, you can follow me Instagram, Twitter, at Nintendo Gurus. That is all. Peace out, Preston.